Five, four,
I will be
three,
able to.
two, one.
Yep, we're
And are
live.
we live? Are we live on
Live.
YouTube?
Mm-hmm.
Send me the link so I can see.
Let's see. Yeah, this is so weird. I'm looking at myself over there on the other screen. Let me drop it in here. I don't know. I don't know what that'll look like for you, but we have the viewers.
Uh,
Does
what
that even do anything
the?
for you? We got
Wait,
chat and
how?
participants.
No, it doesn't do anything for me.
Okay, let
Channel
me
creation
let me
token?
see
Why does
if
it
I
want
can.
me to create a channel?
Here's a share. Let's see. Between two views. Okay, here's the actual video link.
Okay. Oh yeah, the
There you
studio. Got it. Okay.
go. Cool. Yes, I figured this would be a little more casual. I've been trying to finish
Interesting.
editing. You there? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I'm closing that window. I was just. It was. That's actually really good quality for the live stream. Yeah, there.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, so let's see. Let me get my desktop set up. So I've just been sitting on our last podcast for
Yeah,
a
yeah.
few days. I spent like
Hold on.
hours.
Cat wants to say hi. Live
Hello, Kitty.
stream kitty. Say hey,
I
Bootsy.
love it.
Oh, he's waving. He's like, what's up?
Hello, cat. Hello. What's that?
Okay, so we're actually streaming
I
live to
don't
the
even
world, but
know.
not that anybody's watching, so we're just gonna practice, right? Hey, cat, stop trying
Yeah,
to
well,
bite my
just have fun.
freaking headphone cable.
This is my subtle way of still going live with you, but I just don't want to sit down and do a podcast tonight because I still haven't finished editing the other one. Mess
So
around
did
with
that
that.
work out okay? Were you able to get access to the raw?
Yeah, I pulled them all down. I threw them into script. I'm gonna try to pull that up right now.
Did you
I'm
get
just
your
like getting my.
subscription figured out?
Yeah, yeah. It was a weird thing. I think they just ended up erasing my stuff, and they asked me to add a credit card and then upgrade, which I did, and it worked. So it was just I've
So I
implemented.
wondered because I invited you into my account. I
That
wonder if
might
it
have
got
been
stuck in
connected
some
to it.
sort of weird like it's already part of the system, so they won't let in like they had would have to go through me, but like I never got any sort of like request for like approval or anything, so I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
I'm guessing maybe they just need to
No
figure out their
idea.
e-commerce system. Anyway,
Okay, I'm gonna try
does
to
it?
share. Let's see, does this work? Can you see it? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like I don't know if this will. I guess I'll have my stream. It looks good in the studio. This is nice. So
Yeah, hold on. I'm gonna while you're doing that, I'm going to pull this up on my other. Oh, actually, I'm gonna pull it up on my iPad. Why not have signal on my iPad? What the hell? Let's fix that.
I missed a viewer. Hello, Lana. I've got Elaine and the dog watching from home.
Oh,
Although she
hello.
said she jumped on and then she didn't see me say hi, so she bounced. I'm not very patient of her.
Well, did we even see her?
No, well, we had one viewer pop in.
Oh, but I didn't tell you who it was.
No, but she messaged me and she's like, "Say hello." I was distracted. Um, yeah. So let me see if I play this. Can you hear the audio, or is it just my mic? Can you hear that?
Hold on. I'm sorry. Say what now?
No. Well, I'm just wondering if this is playing through Riverside or not. I don't think it is capturing it.
I don't hear any
Okay.
audio
Okay.
from you right now.
Yeah. I think though I shared this with you, so you can jump in and start mucking around at the same time.
Is that okay? Let's find that out. Hold on, give me a second to get
Okay.
this on here.
I'm gonna shrink it a little bit so it's a little easier to see.
So does it make it collaborative?
Yeah, yeah. So you can, I think you can edit it and comment at the same time. Maybe I'm just gonna give up on this and we can just chat for a little bit and I'll finish this in the morning, in the afternoon tomorrow after work.
So you have audio there.
Yeah.
What? So you shared. I wonder why it's not taking the audio from the screen.
I just don't think that's how it works. There might be a
Well, we
way
had.
to control that.
I thought we could.
I could probably create, I don't think it's super useful or super important, but I could probably create like a composite audio and pipe the mic and the computer out into it. It's just, I don't want to futz around with that tonight.
Got it. One sec.
Yeah, no worries. So I just wanted to go over this. Like, I went through all of this, and I watched it, and I looked at it, and it just when I started, I was like, oh, okay, this isn't going to be so bad. And then there's so many little pieces that are just like, oh, that doesn't flow, that doesn't sound perfect, and I made the mistake of letting Descript go through there and remove
Oh
all
yeah,
of the
don't do that.
stop words and the gaps.
It
And I
sounds
think
like.
well, so, and then I tried to edit it for content. And so once it removes all those gaps, like things are just moved around. And
Yeah.
then if you go to the underlying video and you pull things around, it completely destroys it.
Yeah.
So what you have to do is you have to watch, you go through it and play through it. And if you double click on any of the video, you can go to the underlying, see I have 3 tracks here, and you can go into the underlying audio. So I went through some of this, and like where some of us were talking, like here's a section where I was talking, and then you said something, and then I talked, and then you said another thing. And so I actually sliced out what you said and muted it. And then in some of the cases, like sliced out what Ryan was saying, like he had a little blip here. And then I actually, one of these, it was kind of funny. We said, and we're back at slightly different times, but I moved around the timing, so we said it at the same time. I thought that was kind of funny. Like, and we're back. So it's actually kind of interesting. Huh?
Wait, what were you saying again?
So we have 3 sort of synced recordings, right? Of you, me, and Ryan,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And the thing is, it's like we in the intro I said and we're back, and then you said and we're back, and then we said it again, and it was slightly off, and I just took it and I manipulated it. So I literally dragged yours forward,
Yeah.
so that you and I said it at the same time. It sounds like we're just saying it in unison. And then later on, I sent you that clip of where we were all just kind of talking over each other. And I just took that and I just kind of stretched them out and moved them a little bit. So you said something, and then I said something, then Ryan said something, and then I again. And it's really fun to kind of take what, technically it would be intelligible if you listened to it like 3 times. But if you got like 3 different audio sources at you at once, it just doesn't
Yeah,
make
yeah.
sense.
Where is this project?
This is one of those, right? So I cut out a slice of yours. I think I dragged this over here. So I was like, so, and then you said you're using this, and then, right?
Yeah,
So
well,
it's
which
weird.
project? You said you shared the project with me?
I think I sent you guys a link, right? So this is in
Where's
my
the link?
drive. Because I don't have, you just went into share. I said anyone with the link can comment. Members of Joshua can edit. So,
Okay, so you've got a project. You have add me as a project member, I think.
yeah.
So and my,
So
I think mine is M. David at Third and Urban. To make sure. Yeah, M. David at Third and Urban.
third, like 3, the number,
3RD and
like
Urban, yeah.
the character 3.
Yep. A
Let's
digit.
see if that works. Well, it knows you, so yeah, you
Yeah,
can
it
come
does
in and
know me.
edit. And,
Share. Okay, so shared with. There it is. Now I've got it.
yeah. So I
Okay.
got through the vast majority of this, and the part where I'm working through now, which is just painstaking and annoying, and there's probably a better way to do it, is syncing up the video. So like here I'm talking, and then Ryan jumps in with a laugh, and
Yeah.
he says something, and then it's back to me, and this is the part where I synced him up. You can see your audio and my audio there,
Yeah.
and then back to me, and it's like somewhere in here, then I'm talking, and it's like on you, and then me. So it's just like you have to go in, and in each clip, um, here and pick who's talking, right? So I can swap
So
between
okay, yeah, but
cameras.
you're also in the old view, aren't you?
Right, right. So I messaged them about this because they have instructions on how to do multicam, but only for the old view. And I wanted to do multicam so I could just have these three tracks and then
Yeah.
treat them as one stream with multiple things. And after they messaged me back, after I'd already made some progress in here, they basically said, "Oh, there's a whole new doc site for that, and here's the link." I was like, "Ah, you guys need to link that from your help menu, please."
You wait, but
So yeah, next time I
you're
do
still
this,
using the classic version, right? You're not using
yeah,
storyboard.
yeah, and that's what this banner is about.
Yeah. Have you
So
tried using storyboard yet?
I did. It's better. I just couldn't
Yeah.
figure out where some of the stuff was. So
Oh, yeah. Use storyboard for sure.
anyway, I'm going to be plugging through this. I think you can go into it as well.
Yeah, I don't.
I
I'm
think I'm
not
just going to say that.
seeing like. I was assuming that I'd be able to see like your stuff in real time.
Oh, well, I'm not changing anything. I wonder.
No, I
You can't
know,
even
but
see
like I'm
like my
moving around the
cursor or anything.
document. Do you see me at all? Moving around the doc?
I don't see any indication. I see your name.
Like, huh?
I see your name up
That's
here in the
good. And
corner.
I see you as
I think
well.
that indicates that you're in there.
Yeah. What happens if we hit
Okay.
play?
I am 2 minutes in. I've selected something that Ryan said. Do you see that selection at all?
No.
Okay. Well,
And in
maybe it's
fact, I
not real
can't even
time.
hear my audio playing from here.
It just
Hold on.
might be a configuration issue. Anyway,
Weird.
I'm
Yeah, it
actually
might
gonna
just be.
stop sharing this because I'm feeling like it needs a little bit more attention. I
What
don't
does?
feel like I can actually stream. So I don't think I can stream and talk and edit and listen at the same time because I actually have to hear what the thing is saying. So
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
love to do this live, but now that I'm actually trying to do it, I'm like that was a dumb idea.
Well, yeah. Let us. Hey, you know
So
what?
let's just
I,
shoot the
I
shit for
told
a
you
little
about the
while.
between two speakers, right?
No, I like that. I like that.
Because I
That's a
have my
good
two
double
speakers right
entendre.
here. You know what
Right,
I'm talking about?
and
Right there. And the way it's set up now,
right.
it's lit. I've got the table between the two speakers, and I've got two of the. Um, I'll send pics, but I've got two
Yeah.
stools sitting there. That are literally
Mm-hmm.
two people between two speakers, and I can sit on this side of
It's
it.
cute. I like that a lot.
And I think I'm going to pick up that not 3D. Yeah, I guess it's 3D, 4D audio
But
recording from.
I like the branding, right, between two speakers, having the visual of the speakers, but also it's like two people who are speaking. Right?
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
That's
It's kind of like
kind of clever.
between
Thank you.
two ferns, but between two speakers.
Yeah. Anyway, I'd love to workshop the name, but I'm happy to go with that. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just like
We gotta pick
I'd
something.
rather focus on getting to a place where we have good, engaging content and people actually caring what we have to say and who
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking to,
Yeah,
than trying to brand a thing that doesn't exist.
yeah. But let's stop recording here because there's other stuff to talk about. We maybe not want to be broadcasting to the world.
Well, let's save that for afterwards. Let's keep going.
Huh?
We've got one viewer.
Would you have what the hell?
I don't know. We had two people jump in. I assume one of those was you. I don't know.
One of the, oh yeah, there's one of them that's me right now. So
Okay.
don't let that fool you.
We have 0 viewers. Yeah, no, let's chat for a minute because this is being recorded and we can just call it, sort of lazy
Okay, cool.
attempt. I actually had a chat this morning with Andy. He was just pinging me and I called him up and we ended up chatting, and I was like, you know what, this would make a really good sort of mini podcast or kind of like little live thing by itself, because we got into some really deep stuff around just sort of one of the things we were talking about was like consulting people, and they go in like, you remember, I don't want to like drop names, but you know how it is in consulting when you're reached out to by a company that's hopeless and they have a lot of money and they want you to do a thing, and they know what they want, and you probably know it's not best for them.
Mm-hmm.
And depending on where you're sitting financially and I guess ethically or morally, I don't know how much that plays into it. Like you could tell them, hey, I know you want this, but this isn't what you want, what you need. So I'm not going to do it, but I can connect you with some cheaper people who would. Or you just take the money and try to get it done, even though it's sort of hopeless. And my conclusion from that, we were talking about it back and forth, and what I sort of came away with is like, you're actually this is so crazy. It's actually, you're in better hands if you're in the hands of a benevolent grifter than a fool, like somebody who's well-meaning who doesn't realize that they can't make it work. And the reasoning of the argument behind this is the benevolent grifter is going to let you down easy. So at the end of the project, you have a nice clean narrative of why it didn't work, and you're sort of turned away from that. So it's like, look, you're strong-headed, you're foolhardy as a business, you think you know what you need, and so you're going to say, hey, consultant, we just need you to come in and solve this X problem. And they're like, well, yeah, but you have ABC problem. You're like, we're not even there yet. We've got to solve X problem. That'll save our business, etc. And so you can't tell them they're wrong at a certain point. And so the benevolent grifter, rather than it, you swap it out. The nice guy who just wants to save it and solve it is like, oh, we'll work this out and blah blah blah, and they try really hard and they cross the finish line in a blazing mess of failure. And the business is burned. Now they don't trust consultants. Now they're behind. They think, oh, this was the right track, but we just had the wrong people implement it. They're coming out of it in a downward momentum, a downward velocity. Swap it over to the benevolent grifter model. This person is like, look, I realize this is a waste of your time. You're not where you need to be up here to see that. And so I'm going to take your money, and what I'm going to give to you is the gradual, like, we're going to arrive at the finish line in pristine form, and you're going to have a gift wrap reason why this didn't work, and it's going to point you in the right direction for your business so that you're ready to sign on the dotted line for the thing that you should have signed on for today. And we're going to do this wasting no extra string or ribbon or whatever. You're just going to end up there, and you're going to come out of this in an upward trajectory. And it's mind blowing, because it's like, that's not how it should work. Good intention should save the day. But we've seen, and I've been this person, and I came away from, say, live person saying, like, oh, if I had only tried harder, if I'd rallied the troops, if I'd really pulled everyone together, we could have eked out a win. And that may be
Not
true.
there.
Well, here's the thing. Even if that were true, which I think it's folly, I think it's silly and it's stupid, that's a waste of time, because they didn't. It's a winner's sort of mindset, right? It's like if you're taking a terrible team and you force them to succeed, by just pulling all the strings, they can't sustain it, right? Because they're just not there. They're not at that level. And so, like, even if I could have made things succeed, and this goes back to another one of my classic Josh philosophies, like, sometimes the best option is early failure, sometimes the best option is failure, because a success can send the wrong signal upwards, it can send the wrong signal to you. It can say, hey, what you were doing was actually okay. And that's where burnout comes from, death marches and all this sort of stuff. It's like, well, we just need to crack the whip harder. And so this whole idea of like, yeah, if I'd only tried harder, I could have gotten things, I could have changed it. And it's like, no, actually what they need is pain. What they need is failure. What they need is, you know, people saying no, saying, I could save this, but what would be better is to say no and let it fail. And it's just like, it's taken me, I think, what has it been, like 2 years or so since I left to sort of realize that, like, no, the answer to the problem of this isn't working isn't try harder, it's stop sooner, stop earlier.
I mean, it kind of goes along the same lines, if I'm understanding correctly, around the idea of fail fast.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But we're so deathly afraid of failure, and we think we can evade it and escape it, and it's worth it to even try, rather than to just let it come, let it wash over you, and then keep going. Right? It's like the sooner you fail, the sooner you can just keep going, and you're all right.
Yes. The sooner you know what you don't know is always the better thing. It's the process that I've come to embrace throughout my entire career. You have to go and find out what you don't know first before you can start solving any problem. And if you
Right.
don't, if you assume you know what the answer is, what?
Exactly.
Oh,
You're exactly
um,
right.
yeah. I mean, you really have to dig down deep and really understand what the problem is. And then once you understand the problem, you can attack it appropriately. And you
Yeah.
do it bite size. The biggest issue I've ever seen with any consulting job is people come in and they've got, like you're saying, these grandiose ideas of what they want to accomplish, and they don't look at it from the standpoint of all the various different steps and the milestones that kind of come. And that's agile kind of comes into play there. This idea, and it
Yeah.
can be really difficult, especially for those people who are used to that waterfall mentality,
Yeah.
to adapt to that way of thinking. But um, it's possible.
Oh.
I mean, it does require that you think differently. For those people who are 100% behind the idea that waterfall is just a better way to go for your organization, that's totally fine. Just recognize that you have to be able to put on the brakes. Firstly, you have to know what the problem is, but second, you have to be able to put on the brakes if you get down a certain road and realize, whoa, we've gone too far. Let's stop right now. Turn around, figure out, or let's correct course, and but if you could do that, then
How
cool.
often do you see course correction?
Never.
Same here. It's like, when was the last time I can remember anyone in a major project saying, "Oh my God, we are going down the wrong path. We need to double back and go down this other one."
Yeah.
I've never heard.
We're kind of doing it right now.
Where
I
it
mean, we're
usually
going through that
happens is
process.
it usually happens after the product is shipped. It
Yeah.
doesn't go out, and they just kind of quietly start on the next one, so they don't have to acknowledge that failure at all, and
Yeah.
that is really damaging.
It is. It is. Um, yeah, I mean, throughout my years consulting with every corporation up and down the chart,
Yeah.
oh, there's no no stack of consultants, no rock star coders, no. If you have people making poor decisions at the decision level, at the decision making level, it really doesn't matter who you have.
Yeah.
It's gonna fail.
Well, so Rob Lacasio asked this question. He said, "Would you rather have a strong leader or a strong team?" And most people are like, "Strong leader," because blah blah blah. Or I think actually a lot of people said strong team, and I said, a strong leader wouldn't stand by a weak team, right?
Yeah.
Like a strong leader is
Yeah.
like, okay, this isn't working. I need a better team.
Yeah.
But a weak leader with a strong team can turn a strong team into a weak team, and we've seen that time and
It's the
time
same
again.
way with movie scripts. You can take a really
Right.
great script, but with a poor base of actors, it doesn't matter. You can also take a really great or a really poor script, but with a great base of actors, turn it into something that's marvelous. I mean,
I think a good director really brings the script to life, right? It's like
it really does. Yeah.
you can have mediocre actors if you have a great director who knows how to work with them and really get stuff out of them. You can have some really great stuff come out with people who aren't known for whatever.
Yeah, inexperienced people who recognize that they are inexperienced, and who are there to. It's similar to that graphic that you sent the other day. You've got somebody. They're doers, and they recognize that they are not necessarily. Whoa, hold on. What just happened here? You still there?
Yeah, yeah. Can you hear me?
What happened to my screen? Oh, there we go. Sorry, the script like restarted and took over
Just
my
took
screen
over.
for a second.
That's fine.
What were we saying? Sorry. You remember?
Got some dogs barking and growling. Yeah, well, you were talking about the scripts and directors. If you have, like a really good director, it can bring out the best in some.
Yeah, I mean, well, having seen a lot of that world, I mean, I've seen. I I mean, well, I should probably step back from that statement. You really can't take a poor script and turn it into a great movie. You can take a poor script and turn it into a mediocre movie with good actors. But it takes a great script and a great set of actors and a great director for it to come together into true, I'd say, harmony, that nirvana where everybody just is in sync. That doesn't mean, and the
Yeah.
definition of great changes because what's great for this particular movie or this particular group may not be great for another group.
Right. And
And you have to be able to understand that.
that's where I was going to pick a bone is the there are great movies which are, cultural works of art. And then there are entertaining movies and there are funny, campy, also cultural works of art, but not in the same degree or same way as some of those sort of Mona Lisa style things. And it's just like there are terrible scripts that have turned into cult classics.
Yeah.
Can't think of a lot other than The Room off the top of
The
my head.
Room is definitely good.
Yeah.
Another, what's the movie from the 80s? The about the glam rock. Um,
Mm.
oh my God, why can't I think of it? It's like a spoof. It's like a mockumentary about
It's not the Weird Al one.
no, what's it called? I'll find it. 1 second. 80s
So it just kind of goes
but
into the
rock
theory of like
mock.
you don't get to choose what raw materials you have, but you can find a pathway to some version of success, despite those. But only if you're willing to sort of let go of, the dependency on, well, it has to be great in this sense. This is what success is, right? If you can sufficiently loosen your definition of success and sort of re-envision that, you can turn a lot of failures into successes.
Yeah,
And you can
this is
actually,
Spinal Tap. Is the name of it.
classic, but I haven't seen it. I'll have to watch
It
it
is. I mean,
sometime.
it's so bad. It's so great. I mean, that's what makes it so great. But if you look at the base of actors,
Yeah.
you can see. I mean, it was done as a mockumentary, so it was so poorly written. But what makes it so great is that it was so. It was like it was purposely poorly written.
Right.
Um,
But there's a level of effortlessness that has to be there.
right.
And so you sort of think of these sorts of things as like there's layers to it because somebody who's just a bad writer can write something that's uninteresting, right? Somebody who's a really good writer can write something bad and make it seem like it was a bad writer that wrote it, but it's still interesting.
Yeah.
Writer. And so it's an interesting sort of facet of art.
Kat, if you do not stop digging your claws into me or biting my headphone cable, you're
Oh.
going into the room.
Andy
Jeez.
Andy coined a really interesting phrase. We were talking about diversity, and I think we were talking about like having different types of people because you like to reference people go through different cycles or phases. Everything's seasonal, right? And I think that's absolutely true. And if you look at people's sort of lifetimes, right? There's a sort of seasonal. You just model everything as sine waves, right? It's like there's a seasonal pattern to your whole life. There's the years, there's the months, there's relationships, and it's just you have all these sort of different frequency patterns, whatever you want to say, kind of like a Fourier transform for all of the different modularities you're going through. And so, based on that, you think of the whole world full of people all going through different modularities. It's almost like a version of the mean value theorem where it's like you can always pick out one person who's going through a certain thing at a certain time, right? Sort of like because the temperature around the globe is continuous, right? It has to go through, every temperature. There's always 2 points on the globe. Is it like 2 points that are opposite each other or whatever that are the same exact temperature? Something like that. And the interesting thing about this is like that means you can always find somebody who doesn't want to find a lot of meaning in their work. They just want to show up, do the work, succeed, and then go home, right? And you can always find somebody who wants to find a lot of meaning, who has been searching for this particular meaning, and this is their thing, and they really care about it, and they're going to carry the banner for it. And it's good that we live in a world like that because, and this is the phrase Andy coined, it's anti-fragile. Right? A lot of people say diversity is our strength, and I really don't think diversity is a strength. I think diversity is anti-fragility. Andy picked the exact right word because you think of diversity in like an evolutionary sense in an ecosystem, right? If you have a whole bunch of one type of species, or you have two species that are vying for dominance, if the scale tips a little bit too much, that species takes over, and then everything falls apart and they die, and everyone's gone. If you have a whole bunch of species and a lot of intricate webs of how they interact and how they do different things, even if there's a fluctuation in one, the whole thing's going to have this great dynamic balance. And so the system is anti-fragile because it's diverse. And you should see that same pattern. You should be able to kind of spot that in our companies, in our lives, in our societies. Diversity is not just raw strength. It's like we're stronger because we're diverse. We're more resilient. We're anti-fragile because we're diverse. That's why diversity is important. And I think that's something that, regardless of where you sit on it, it's not just like, oh, we need to please people by making our companies more diverse. Got to collect them all. I hate that sort of Pokemon mentality. But
Yeah.
that by bringing these different viewpoints that are opposing, they're not totally compatible, right? Different people from different walks of life. They may look the same. They may look different. They look different on the surface, but they've had the exact same experience, or vice versa. They look the same, but they couldn't be more different. That's useful because they bring different perspectives together, and if you can cultivate the skill of being able to find a way for those perspectives to coexist and find sort of a commonality, common ground, you can achieve some really great things. I think we as a country are not super good at that these days. That's something that we're kind of struggling with.
Dude, this cat is not a fan apparently of me working at all ever.
Just wants attention.
It just wants to dominate. Yeah, for sure. Dominate my attention for sure.
You
Whatever.
gotta get some entertaining cat toys, some kind of motorized thing or something.
Hmm? Well, when Charlie's here, it's fine because she or he will chase her down.
They're good friends. Yeah.
Huh?
They're good friends.
I wouldn't call them good friends. No, I would say they. Oh, Andy just woke up. I would say that she likes him, but she will only tolerate so much of him.
Yeah.
I caught him the other day. Uh, well, she was chasing after her, and I thought that she got away from him, and then I went. I'm like, oh, I better check. I go in there, and he's got her held up like a freaking rabbit with with both of her legs.
Jeez.
And she's like,
He,
so
he
she took
doesn't.
off.
He doesn't fully understand the
No,
nuances of dealing with animal life yet.
no, not quite.
He will.
He will. Yeah. But she has claws, and so it's easy enough for her to communicate to him, like back away, which she has several times. But she's been pretty good. She hasn't like, you know, attacked him or devoured him or whatever. She's just made it clear like, don't do that, little kid.
Is she indoor only?
For now, one of my coworkers is somebody like he will take in like stray cats like from shelters that don't get adopted and then take care of them until they do get adopted.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got to follow up with the cat. Oh my God! Stop digging your claws into my leg.
Oh jeez.
I asked him because I'm like, hey, I want her because one of the reasons why I got her was because there was a mouse in the house,
Oh.
and which is as a result of having my garden. There's mice. out
Lower
there.
maintenance ways to take care of mice.
What's that?
There are lower maintenance ways to deal
Oh,
with
and
mice.
I'm taking care of them just fine. I just don't want them in the house. I could care less. Outside, I can keep them at bay, but when they come in the house,
Yeah, no, that's-
I just
you
would
gotta
rather not have them here. So with the
put
cat,
an end to that.
huh?
You got to put an end to that.
The rats coming in the house.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think they're well aware. Like they've communicated with her because she was like frantic in the back room, where I saw like one scurry for a while, and now she's less frantic back there. So
That's good.
it's weird seeing. I'm looking down at my iPad and seeing us like delayed. It's really
Yeah.
weird.
It's like I did that a minute ago.
One watch.
Oh man. Yeah, I have a thing written here. I was just taking notes on my conversation with Andy. I think that exit momentum thing is just so interesting. It's like, it's basically, it's like chess. It's like you're playing in a chess tournament. It's like you could win the game, but you should be thinking about several games ahead. You know, it's like if you're playing some kind of elimination tournament or something. It's like maybe you don't want to go up against somebody, so you throw a game on purpose so you can be bumped down so that somebody else can take care of them, and that sort of pattern. I think that's played into a few like sports movies. And I think
Sorry,
that's the same.
I'm trying to pay attention here, but this cat is digging into my leg. Oh,
Why don't
Andy's
you
coming
pick
up here.
her up?
Huh?
Why don't you pick her up?
Well, I do, and I push her off, and then she jumps back up. Like it's like a never-ending battle. She's being okay right now.
No, no, just pick her up and hold her and pet her
I
while
am.
you go.
Oh, I am.
Oh.
She's doing okay, but I mean, she just will like stretch out, like.
Terrible. You should trim the claws a little bit. That's why I was asking if she was indoor, outdoor, or just indoor. Because if she's indoor only, just trim the claws. They'll
Yeah,
grow back. They'll always grow back. It's just
yeah.
you don't want to handicap her if she's going out against other cats in the wild.
Yeah.
Josh brought it to us from the west
Did Andy
side.
say he's joining us? He did, I think. He said, all right, give me a sec. How long are we going for here? Joshua?
What's that?
How long are we going for?
I don't know. Another 5-10 minutes probably. I'm getting some flack from podcasting from my mom's house. She comes in, she's like, "Oh," I'm like, I'm recording."
Huh?
She's like, my mom's just giving me crap for podcasting in here.
Why?
I'm in this is the living room back here, and then I'm in the sort of dining table. This is where I've been set up for the last few days.
Hmm. How long are you back home for?
I'm actually heading back in a couple days. So Wednesday, I'll be heading back to Bellevue and be hanging out there for a little bit, and then heading out with Andy, actually with a coworker. So I'm still trying to solidify. I think I sent you the itinerary. I just want to podcast from a few nice, beautiful locales. In front of a lake, in front of a beach, and that sort of thing. Hey guys, like, comment, and subscribe. Ring that bell. It really helps us out. That sort of thing.
Hold on.
Cool. I'm trying to remember. I have a note here that says, "Strive to fit in / measure up rather than drag people forward." I'm trying to figure out what that means.
Oh, there's Andy. Andy?
Hey man, how's it going?
Good morning. Good morning.
Oh, 1 second. I'm saying this.
Are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Totally. Sorry.
Nice. Is it easier if I have headphones? I can get my headphones.
It's
It
probably a
doesn't
little
seem to
bit better.
matter.
All right.
Oh,
I'll get
yeah, it says echo cancellation. So
them.
good. Does he know we're live?
I think so. Well, actually, I don't know. Just messaged him. We'll see.
We are live. Hello,
Yeah, we're
hello.
live on YouTube at the moment.
Hey, I was telling M. David a little bit about our chat this morning, like diversity is anti-fragility. That's just kind of an interesting concept. But the one that's just like I'm thinking about it now, and I'm just like that is such a mind blowing thing. Is like the exit momentum, the idea of a benevolent grifter being better than an earnest, hardworking, we're gonna make this work sort of character.
Ow,
And it's
cat.
just like, how could that how could that be? It's just a weird. I want to flesh that idea out more because it's just like, it seems like it's full of crap. It has to be wrong.
There are
Uh,
some
Andy, have you met
contexts
the cat
where,
yet?
oh, how did this happen?
I found a mouse in the house and decided it was time to put an end to that. So we got a cat.
Oh yeah, I understand that one.
What
There's
were you
a
saying? There's
no, I was gonna say,
Oh yeah, it's this one. Why does this? Why do I have both my camera things on at the moment?
I don't know. I'm only seeing the top down.
No, I know, but whatever. Weird.
I think your computer's wigging out a little bit.
I might have other, whatever. I mean, we're
Yeah,
live,
we
so
really
if
get it.
anybody's recording from a distance, then they're not getting anything.
What do you mean?
I'm saying I've got on my laptop the little camera light is on as well as the camera light on my,
Oh,
so they're both on at the same time.
hey FBI friend.
Yeah.
How's it going?
Hello.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, did you get that message, Andy? We are live. I'm streaming on YouTube right now.
I totally understand. I have the list of words not to say right on my
Thank you.
screen. Don't worry.
I
won't even say 'em accidentally.
Say, what's this?
What is that
Just
thing that
in case.
Nick Cage does? Like, so good.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Oh man, yeah. No, the anti-fragility. I have one written down here. A note from our conversation this morning. I can't figure out. Strive to fit in / measure up, rather than drag people forward. I think we were talking about like, you say you come into a place and people just aren't doing a good job, or they're just not like playing on the same wavelength. It's like rather than trying to, like, hey guys, come on, we can do this, and pulling them along. It's like, I don't get the fit in, measure up part. You remember that? I'm talking like 15, 16 hours ago. So I don't know.
This is me and you talking. Like, are you talking about like? Oh no, I think it kind of came from talking about, yeah, as you said, like being in a consulting engagement and you know, kind of wargaming it, right? Like, what are your paths
Yeah.
that
Well,
you
yeah.
have
That
there?
I mean, that connects to like the benevolent grifter versus earnest worker or whatever. But the you come in. Oh yeah, yeah. So you come into yeah. Okay, it's coming to me now. You come into a situation, say like True Blue, right, where they're like, oh, we're on this big old SQL database. We're doing this, and we wanted to bring them to the cloud and modernize all their processes and platforms and tech, and we're trying to drag them into the future, rather than just say, what's realistic for them to continue? What game can they continue to play once we leave, right? And I did this with my mom today. Actually, she does a Bible study thing with her church. So she has these ladies. A lot of them are kind of on the older side, and she emails them, I guess weekly, like a list of things, and they email back their prayer requests and all that. And so they're doing this on email, and it's a clunky process because sometimes they'll reply rather than copying and pasting and writing their thing in. And so I showed her two views of alternates that she can use. Google Docs, right, where there's just one link open to the world, send it to your ladies, put their names in the doc, and they just jump in and type, right? No sign in, no
Exactly.
sign up, no copying, no pasting. And then I showed her a fancier view, which is, hey, you can make a Google form. You can have your form questions, and you can have a 1 to 5. How close to God do you feel today? And then it goes in a spreadsheet, and you
Oh,
can plot that,
dear
and you can see how it
God.
changed over time. And she was like, yeah, they're not going to get that. I was like, yeah. And the value of, operationalizing their spiritual walk, not super important. So
Well,
it's kind
yeah.
of a throwback.
Remember, there was a certain client that we were all deployed at, and they unmigrated from AWS after we left, which was kind of something you don't hear about.
We're going to
Which
roll
one
back
was
our
that?
cloud.
I mean, I wasn't naming them purposely.
Were they in
They are a
Tacoma?
they are a publicly traded company,
Were they in Seattle?
the greater area.
Tacoma or Seattle? So I know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I
they
don't
might
think
be
it's
kind.
actually a huge deal. I really.
Ow!
Anyway,
God.
the point is, going into a company or situation, it could be a relationship, right? It could be you're friends with somebody and you're like, you know what, I know what's better for them. So you're going to tell them what to do and like, here's how you can make this work. And that may be correct, right? They may be ready for it, but you have to sort of start from where they are, right? And it's a path dependency thing. I think it was telling you how I think I've been on this for like 3, 4, 6 months. Space, physical space, the idea of dimensionality is just fundamental to all kinds of processes, right? And so mapping some of these things of like where is somebody emotionally today to where do they need to be to have, this change or, to accept AWS as their cloud and savior. And it's like there's a distance
My
there.
God, I've
There
never
is a
heard that thing.
path between A and B. It's a distance. It has ground. It has peaks and valleys, and there is a perimeter, and there is a total crows flying distance, and you can't skip steps. You can find a closer path, but you still have to cover ground to get from A to B. And I don't think that sounds super profound, but it's just really thinking about dimensionality as it relates to all things. About, I mean, we did this with like, uh, what you would call it, utterance sort of intense, and
Yep.
dimension reduction to space, where it's like, oh, it looks like a map, and it's just really like space maps to, some kind of cardinality, distance, whatever, right? You've got a graph, and there's some form of distance, which is really just a connection of points. So it's kind of a weird rant, but the point being, it's like, hey, this company, they're not right next door to the cloud. They are 3 towns over. And if you want to bring them to the cloud, you have to set up shop in each town along the way, long enough for everybody to gather up, and then you move them to the next town. And people don't move at the same speed, right? Some people are slower walkers.
They
So
were
if you
definitely not
want to
ready.
get them from town A to town B, you got to come up with a vehicle for them, or you have to wait for them all to get there. And what is that vehicle? Move them to another project, give them a chance to work on something and get a feel for it. Let them take the steering wheel, et cetera, et cetera. So like the metaphor of just covering distance, just any sort of process. It's just the time distance relation, essentially, right? Anything that unfolds over time has some aspect of distance to it. And it could be, it's just weird. It's just something weird that I've been tooling around with in my head, and it's one of those things. It's like, tip of your tongue versus like tip of your brain. It's just like the concept feels so familiar, and yet it feels just out of reach. It's just like the real good grasp of what it is and why it seems to fit. I'm literally wigging out. I can't.
I'm just processing it all as it comes
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, yeah. It's just been something that like buzzes into my head. It's like, oh, you know, like like been working out a lot. I've been working out. I took my sister to the gym, and I told her it's like if you want to go from A, wherever your body is today, to B, this beautiful fit, whatever version of yourself you have in mind, there is a path. There is a series of intermediate states that you have to transition through, and there's a process to get from one intermediary state to another, right? And you can slice that really thin, obviously, but the point being is you're going to show up to the gym 300 days, 300 separate times, in order to get where you want to be, right? And there's no skipping that, right? You can take a different direction. Maybe you can slow it down, right? It's like we're all moving into the future at the speed of light, but we could slow that down by moving through space a little bit faster. But you have to physically cover the ground, and by physically I mean figuratively physically, but also physically, right? It's like your cells have to go through physical motion in sort of this micro space, right? They have to cover actual ground, ATP, the whole process. Those are physical processes where things are actually moving. And they have to wind through these processes in order for this change to happen, in order for the whole body to shift from one formation to another. It's a little weird. I'm just
I
getting
mean,
really tripped out
it's
on
like
it.
the calculus, the intermediate value theorem, right? Like to go from one place to
You're
another, you're
talking about
gonna
the
pass.
temperature? What's the
Yeah,
temperature one? Remember the globe, and like because it's a continuous distribution of
right.
temperatures, you can find two
Yeah,
temperatures on opposite sides. Is that it?
yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're kind of talking about the gradient field formulation
Yeah,
on a, yeah.
on a sphere. Yeah, it's just mind blowing. We were talking about that in relation
Well,
to because humans are constantly moving through a bunch of different sort of phases in their sort of life and mind states, and you could be a happy person going through a depressed time because of a relationship that goes through phase or whatever. Point being, it's like we're all sort of fluctuating due to a lot of sort of Fourier style things being applied to us at once. And because there's so many people, if you had the whole crowd of humans, you could always pick out somebody who really cared about, finches, and they were ready to go code an app, right? It's just like that. There's just such a distribution that it's like you can find any person for anything. And you and I were talking about this morning with like, you have people who don't really want to think or strategize. They just want to be given a problem, solve it, and go home, right? And you can fill the whole engineering section of a company with that. And you should think about that when you're hiring. You shouldn't just say, "Oh, well, we want the top, smartest people who can do everything." That's dumb. Find the right people who fit well with what you're trying to do, and think about again the distance you're trying to cover. Like, okay, this is what it looks like today. This is what it might look like in a year. Pick the people who fit the most area between those two ferns, between those two states.
and David, they gave a little context. Josh and I were talking kind of about like reverse engineering some kind of possible roles, and that's one of the things I brought up, right? Like if some mad scientist with a bunch of money or organization, whatever, wanted to find like top people to do this, would you be? Are there any queries for which you would be found? And
What are we talking, like, queries against what?
like say, okay, for myself, if someone wanted to search, if someone had great amounts of resources and they were building a team,
Yeah.
and they went to LinkedIn and Google and they just looked up like data science, agriculture, like would I be on the list of people who are there? And if not, like what do I need to do to
Right.
be on that list?
Right.
Yeah.
So what's the question?
Good point. Well, it's more of a thought experiment of like, if the sort of placing yourself within the sphere of all possible people, right? What's your likelihood of being picked by somebody who's given an open remit to solve any particular problem, right? Pick a problem, throw all the money in the world at them, and then what is your ranking in the list of people that would be contacted for that problem, right? That's
Yeah,
sort of
and
a
like
way of
what
backing
what
yourself
niche do you want
into,
to be into
right?
for
It's
that?
sort of
Like what
backing
kind
your
of
way into that niche. Where would you show up at number one, right?
yeah, and what problems do you want to show up as number one?
Right.
So the or the thought experiment here is how do you get there?
Yeah.
How do you get to the position that you want to be in?
Well,
But
one,
like
how do you game
at
theory it? How do
some
you maximize your level? And two, how do you decide which person you want to work for? What problem you wanna be the top guy for?
Like at some point in the history, this would have been you with like Xamarin or Proto Buff or right something like this,
With
right? M. David.
yeah,
XSLT transforms.
That's
what
the
what
one, right?
it would
You
have been
know,
all of the above and then some. What are we talking about though?
Yeah.
like I said, just
Oh, as far as like being the person who gets found at the top of the search.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
The go-to guy,
That
the
was
guy for
well, I mean,
XYZ.
yeah, certainly I
ma-
was associated with the XML and XSLT community. The open source community in general is related to like Mono. Certainly the Ruby community is related to Ruby.net. And then like Iron Ruby, Iron Python. I certainly developed a name in there for sure. And well, and then virtualization obviously with um, and cloud computing.
Okay, shut up. That's impressive. That's
Well,
yeah.
I'm no,
I mean,
I mean, saying back in the day with it, when
yeah.
all those things were all new, like I was heavily involved with it, so it was impossible to be involved with that community and not
Yeah.
interact with me
That's
somehow.
beautiful.
But then, anyway, yeah,
yeah. So my main point is like using the information age in this kind of great filter to help yourself,
Yeah.
right? Like just kind of w- wielding that kind of power to your benefit.
yeah. So actually, I can't speak to that specifically. How the way that you work your way up to the stack, like it's impossible to like stack your resume um, and to I mean in this day and age you can put everything that you want but in a world that anybody is queryable their activities online and you know everything that they share everything that we share to the world it's
Creepy.
too easy for people to use that data to find the types of people that they want based off of everything. So for me anyways that like getting involved with O'Reilly early on and in the blogging community. That was a huge boon because it gave me a platform where I could take you know my passions in technology and promote them and attach my name to them. Along you know alongside a name that was and is well respected in the tech industry. So that was huge. And then doing tons of open source. I think that's probably if you want to get a job in a particular type of technical field, get involved in the open source community in anything that relates to that, and start working with the people who are um, who are a part of those communities, and you will find work for sure. Is that not what you have?
think-
You've experienced that same thing, haven't you, Andy? Certainly in the data science world, right?
Yep. But it's something you got to keep up. You can't let your because you know new niches, especially in rapidly evolving field, new niches show up every like 6 months.
Yeah.
It goes to show how
Well,
important it is like to not be stuck at a dead end job
Yeah.
or at a gig where you're not learning.
yeah. Um, I think one other aspect, especially in modern times, LinkedIn is becoming way more social. I mean, over the last 2 or 3 years, it's become way more social than it
LinkedIn's
has in the
crazy
past.
now.
It's
I've
super
been
crazy
a
how
lot more
social
active these
become.
days, and it's just like it's hard to kind of I don't know. It's wild. It's blowing up.
Well, right, and I think it's becoming kind of if you want to get involved with any sort of um, tech space, just jump onto LinkedIn and start interacting with those communities. I mean, back in the 2000 to 2010s, LinkedIn was just a place, you know, it was just a job board.
Yeah, it's kind of just recruiters. Only recruiters.
Yeah, which was fun. I mean, you definitely wanted to get your profile up there so that people would find you, but you didn't go there to actually interact with anybody.
Right.
Now it's completely different. So for me, having access to like O'Reilly was huge, but I think anybody can do that now. Anybody can jump on LinkedIn and create a professional platform, a professional whatever. When I say platform, I mean they can focus on whatever space they want to focus on, and you can get a community in a short space of time. There's a guy that started a newsletter called Byte Byte Go. He's an architect, and he basically creates like these bite-sized tutorials. Well, not tutorials, like architecture diagrams, explaining like complex processes and how they work, or technologies like Redis. How does Redis work? What's the ideas behind it? Something more high level, like what does a credit card's transaction look like from beginning to end?
Oh,
And
that's a big one.
yeah, yeah. So we started doing all these things, like what's GraphQL and how does it work, and what's eventing, what's an event bus. All these, you just breaking down basic topics into bite-sized chunks. They're like 2 or 3 minute like blog entries, basically with some graphs and links. And the guy went from like zero, less than a year ago. She's like, um, I don't want to say the exact number. I want to say it's in the hundreds of thousands now.
Yeah,
Just by
almost
focusing on it.
200,000 subscribers,
Yeah.
and his videos get good amounts of views.
Or so you know about this guy?
No, I'm just learning about him now. So
Oh,
now
sure, yeah,
you've
yeah, yeah. You can go back in his history on LinkedIn. I swear, I mean, I want to say I came to see some of his stuff, early on, maybe in the first couple 10,000, 1,000, 10,000 subscribers, but it really wasn't that long ago. So if you create interesting content, and I think that's a big difference because you have a lot of people out there who are creating vanity content. They're out there and they're creating podcasts and they're creating all this stuff because they want to promote themselves. This guy's going out there creating content that people want to consume. And he's got a guy who's I think doing the YouTube videos as well. And I'm pretty sure they don't spend a lot of time in front of the camera. They're doing more describing, like audio or actually I haven't seen the YouTube videos. I read most of the blog clips because they're so short and well written. It's just super easy to glean through it and pick up some new knowledge. So anyways, point being, if you want to create a platform for yourself, it's really easy to do now. You don't have to have a major publisher behind you. Joshua, you're on mute.
Yeah, I've got some background noise over here.
Oh, got it.
No,
We might
I was
get
just
into a
thinking of
physical
it.
fight on the camera.
Sorry?
Nice.
This might be our most exciting stream ever.
Yeah. Andy, what were you saying?
No, I was just saying that's actually a very good point you brought of distinguishing it between, say, like vanity content versus actual things that are useful for
Yeah.
people,
Yeah, yeah.
and like
Yeah, I mean-
actionable kind of items. Something Joshua and I were talking about recently.
Oh yeah. Well, that's one of my biggest kicks right now. Is just like
You are muted again. Does he know he's muted, Andy?
I think he's chatting with people in the house.
I am chatting with people in the house.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I picked the wrong time and place for this. I apologize. So, yeah, it's one of the things that I've been really on a kick about lately, which is, how much of what I'm doing, thinking, and spending my energy on is actually producing real results, and how much is just evaporating, lost as heat into the atmosphere.
Mhm.
And the numbers are not good, guys. I'd say just a raw, rough estimate of all of my energy is just lost as heat.
Somebody brought up a point today, posted on LinkedIn, and they talked about when the passionate people in your company go quiet, that's when you need to be concerned. And it was an interesting point, but it brought up the idea that sometimes passion can be misguided, and oftentimes passion towards a subject is confused with knowledge and skills, or knowledge and experience.
Right.
People have the tendency to believe that because they're passionate about it, they therefore are expert in a particular space. You're talking about, and what reminded me of this is the idea of spending a lot of wasted fuel. If you are super passionate about it, and you recognize, but you don't have a lot of knowledge or skill, if you understand that and you use that passion to gain that knowledge and skill, then it's money well spent. It's passion well spent. But if it's just passion towards something and you're not attempting to gain knowledge, you're not attempting to develop skills with that passion, then you're literally just wasting your energy. Because what is the purpose? What is the purpose of that passion if it doesn't have an end goal of developing something, a skill, whatever. So, anyways, I don't know how specifically that relates to that conversation. I mean, I guess I kind
Uh,
of do.
I 100% agree, right? It's like the idea of passion, skills, and I want there to be one other thing that sort of fits in with that. Uh, it makes a lot of sense in terms of like how are you spending your time, right? It's like if you have a lot of skills but you're not passionate, I think you're gonna get very good or creative work out of yourself. But if you have a lot of passion, no skills, you're not gonna get very good work. It's gonna be
Well, if
creative,
you
but it's just gonna be
recognize that
crap.
the passion that you're putting into something is specifically intended to gain skills, then your attitude towards that process is different. Your attitude is, oh, I'm doing this because I'm trying to learn something, as opposed to the attitude I think comes from people who have this idea that if they are dedicated and passionate towards something, that means they therefore should lead that. They should be the ones in
Exactly.
charge, right?
Yeah.
And oftentimes that isn't the case. If just because you're passionate about something doesn't mean that you are the subject matter expert who should be leading the way. Sometimes the best thing that you can do when you're passionate about something is to get out of the way and watch people who do know what they're doing do it so that you can learn how to do it and then use that passion to help ignite, the process later on. But if you think you have all the answers, you're the problem,
Mm,
regardless of how
yeah,
much
that makes
passion
sense.
you have, right?
Yeah,
You have to be able to step back and step away and say, I don't have the experience. So, but I do have the passion. So I'm going to take that passion and I'm going to watch and learn
yeah,
and let somebody who knows what they're doing. And it goes back to what we're talking about in the consulting space. The experiences that we've had are these people, they have this passion towards something they want to accomplish, but they have no idea how to get there, but they think they do. They think they just need to have the right team or whatever, and then they just get in the way.
yeah. I think passion is a really, really, really loaded term.
It really
I
is,
think
yeah.
when most people say passion, I think just emotion, sort of fiery, sort of really go go go. We got to do something. This is really important, guys. And I think that's one expression of passion. I think to a certain degree, it's a little naive. It's a little sort of immature on the passion maturity quadrant. It's the hey, we need to rush. We need to go do something now, now, now. It's good to have a little bit of drive, but to have that drive at the expense of good strategy and like you said, thinking who has the skills, what actually needs to be done,
Mm-hmm.
um, that can be bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I think we see we have a lot of we're surrounded by a lot of people who have who express passion in that way, right? They're talking very profoundly. They're talking very with a lot of conviction and certainty, and all their claims and what they say, and they're projecting a certain persona. And there's no way to know for sure, if any of that's real without doing a lot of digging. And nobody
Mm-hmm.
does the digging. We just watch them and we take it at face value,
Mm-hmm.
or we write them off completely, which is just as bad, but in the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think when you have a lot of skill, then you can move from your skill. You can sort of project that same level of confidence, project that same certainty, right? If you're the foremost expert on, you know, tomatoes, and you know exactly, where tomatoes need to grow and how they need to be planted and all that, you can speak confidently without qualifying any of your things. And you probably don't need to you don't feel the need to produce a lot of evidence for like, well, I know this
Mm-hmm.
because look at this study or look at this thing. But you could, right? Um,
Yeah, I was hanging out with one of the world experts in apple cultivation last week and just
yeah.
kind of going around his rounds with him and witnessed this exact same thing.
Tell me about it.
So yeah, don't stop there.
I'm hungry for
I mean,
apples.
yeah, no, it was actually amazing the amount of respect and he commanded and how his advice, the kind of things he would say to people, which is one reason why he gets hired around the world. In the 10 minutes with him, he's dialed in on a few things just
Give
as a
me an
result of
example.
pure
What did
experience.
he? What did he
I've been just passing by and looking at like, mineral deficiencies, watering issues. That's more or less it. He's like, wow, this person needs to get feeding on this ASAP. The leaves are showing this kind of like we're talking a whole prescription and just looking at it, and it was quite incredible to watch.
Right.
How do you fix stuff like that? Places where like you've got existing orchards where the ability to grow an orchard like that is not something you can just manufacture. It's something it takes time to grow an orchard, right? How do you deal with
Hmm.
inefficiencies, not inefficient deficiencies in like a soil system when you can't necessarily just dig up the plant and replant it?
Well, that's the thing. You augment it, right? You got to have inputs there, right? Naturally, things cycle. An orchard tree cycle on the order of decades,
Mm-hmm.
though. Um, so there's a mix, right? There's adding things in, which is very common. They call them inputs, agricultural inputs. Yeah, that's the main kind of thing.
What does that look like? Is that
And I
more
mean, if
ecosystem
you
related,
think
like animals and
it
like
can be,
introduce? Okay,
right, it can be, right? You can change things in the soil for affecting the water retention. You
mm-hmm.
can add in um, microbes that will fix or chelate certain minerals better. It's you're managing an ecosystem, right? Anyone who's ever tried to manage like a backyard pond can tell you. I have an uncle who did this, right? You're pushing
Water
on one
retention.
lever, and exactly everything else gets affected, and so. Um,
We're
you know,
talking about anti-fragility.
well, I'll say that orchards, they're just not
Yeah,
static groups of
ecosystems.
trees, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. You're not just, and you use a whole array of tools, whether it's like just minerals of various sorts, um, chemicals, or, biological things. And these biological things can be microbes, insects, things to help digest, all sorts of stuff. Right, what if you need to change the pH a bit? You can use lime. You could add charcoal to the soil, and charcoal is like one of the things he's investigating for this, certain effects of the charcoal.
Charcoal meaning
There's
like
a lots of, well, specifically biochar in this
biochar.
case.
Yeah.
Yeah, tons of biochar. That's
So
since
biochar,
you're
from
both
what
a
I
bit.
understand, is probably one of the things that's going to, if anything, is going to help save the the farmland. It's going to be biochar. Is that
And
a safe bet?
completely non-ironically, like there's no exaggeration from that. Like it is gonna be huge,
Mm-hmm.
and we
Wow.
picked up uh, tons. We examined and he made orders for tons of almond shells, other kind of things.
Wow.
It's fascinating.
So they take the raw shells and they burn them and turn them into charcoal.
There's energy in there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I mean, you're just
Yeah.
breaking it down to into straight carbon, right?
Yeah, I mean,
I like that.
it's not just burning. I mean, they heat them up, they
Heated, yeah.
fractionate off some of the kind of things, and they actually can capture some of the gases that come out. I was also at a giant biogas facility,
Yeah. There's
which
one in
means
Idaho too.
tons of manure get taken in there, and they take the gas and they slowly heat the manure, and the manure at the end of the process becomes like a dry, and they said sterile kind of thing, and like it doesn't even smell anymore. But you've already,
Right. Right. Right.
Well,
yeah,
I'm sure the facility smells great.
oh yeah,
There,
it was
there's a totally
it's impressive.
self-contained biochar facility up in Idaho where the I think it's a combination of both solar as well as the electricity that is generated from like the steam or something to that effect. I mean, it's a continuous cycle system
That's
where
cool.
the combination of solar and the energy that's generated from basically heating the the wood and whatever else they put in to make the biochar, all of that they're able to capture it all and just keep it
I like
going.
it.
And it's a net positive like
Imagine if
system
we could
where
do that with code.
you can with AI. Have you been using
No, I haven't. And I feel like I'm way behind.
Copilot, dude. Once you like whatever, that's like a $10 subscription or monthly subscription. I will never ever. I'll cancel Netflix before I cancel that.
All right, I'm signing
All
up
right,
for it.
I'm sorry. You convinced me.
I've seen it in play, and it's weird.
Well, if you
It's
know what you're
uncanny.
doing, if you know how to write code, at first it's really scary, but when you're going through and you're like doing a bunch of repetitive stuff, it'll
That's
start
right there
learning
for you.
what you're doing, and they'll say, and literally you start typing, and it'll just make this whole recommendation as to what could happen next. And you're like, oh, that's exactly what I was just thinking, and you hit the tab, and you're done.
Is GitHub Copilot legal?
Well, I mean, look, we are big filters of information, right? That's what
Yeah.
expertise is, distilling
Yeah.
and filtering information, because anyone can just go online and say how to do this. But what we're doing, what it seems like GitHub Copilot is doing, is making that process much more efficient.
It
Why
is.
not?
It makes it so much more efficient. And you could literally just say, um, I not say. Well, I actually technically you say you go text or speech to text and say it that way, but you can just type exactly what your intention is, and within like 2 or 3 seconds, you've got like 10 options, and it's like written this entire application for you. It's insane.
That's nice.
All right, I
It's,
gotta check it out.
Connected to humans on the other end.
It feels like it is. It's really really crazy, but it's also very addicting and it's super efficient. There was somebody who wrote something on LinkedIn. They were saying predicting like in the next 3 months, like 90% of all code will be written by AI, or something outlandish, and of course people were up in arms about it. And the reality is, I think that those people who understand, like those people who are afraid of it and don't use it, are going to get left behind pretty quickly, because people who have no idea what they're doing are going to be able to start writing code that they don't really know how it works, but it still works, right? And that's who you're going to be competing against. So it's like you kind of have to take the steroid injection along with everybody else,
That's what they said
like
about
to
the
be able to
vaccine.
compete up, huh?
Hey, no, I'm gonna try it. You convinced? This sounds fascinating.
It really is.
Awesome. I got
Would
to
you
jump,
like to
unfortunately.
with GitHub
Yeah,
Copilot?
so do we.
You
Huh?
need the
It- it-
subthermal
it-
chip.
It is my Monday morning here. I got to get some
Yeah.
things ready. Speaking of, get this expert to come here.
Yeah.
But hey, I'm glad we could chat.
We may have an actual human in the chat. So
What?
we have
There's two of
we have
us.
2 viewers. I know one of them is M. David on his iPad, and then
Oh,
we
viewer,
have another
whoever you
actual
are.
human. So
We are going to be leaving
Whoever you
soon,
are,
but
viewer.
thank you.
thank you for joining us.
This was our
Nice
Drop
practice
an F in the
session.
chat for the stream ending.
Catch you later.
See you guys.
All right, thanks guys.
Bye.
Bye.